Okay, great. Today I'm going to talk about this book, The Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. And why I chose this book is I went home and I was looking through my bookshelf of all the books I read when I was a little girl. And this was one that I remembered, and especially have memories with it while I was in probably like 3rd or 4th grade. There were 2 boys from Mexico who came into my class, and they moved into my class about halfway through the year, and their names were Rich and Dick, and they thought this book was so funny, and so it just reminded me of them. So I decided to look into it further and see what implications and examples I could find in it about teaching to a class of English language learners. So basically what happens in this book is there's a girl named Camilla, and she is about to start school, and she's really nervous, and so she wants to impress her classmates, and so she's picking out an outfit, and what happens is she looks in the mirror and she has stripes all over her body. And it also mentions that it's because, well, she loves lima beans, but she doesn't eat them because she's nervous and scared of what her classmates will say about her. So she stops doing what she loves, and because of it, gets the bad case of the stripes. And it continues to tell a little bit more about how the doctors came and they didn't know what to do, so they prescribed creams or pills to take, but nothing happened, nothing worked. So she decided to go to school anyway, and as the kids started to say things to her, her skin reflected that. So as they sing the national anthem, or the Pledge of Allegiance, stars and stripes on her body, they started to yell at her different patterns, and it changed on her body as well. And she began to conform and do all the things that the people yelled at her. Her parents got really nervous and worried about her, and so they hired specialists, but nothing that anybody tried worked. Let's see. And so, of course, it became a huge news story, and it goes so far that she even becomes her own bedroom. But at the very end of the book, a lady comes and offers her a plate of lima beans, and as she eats the lima beans, she is transformed back to her normal self, Camilla, like a normal schoolgirl, and she decided that no matter how weird her classmates thought she was for eating lima beans, she was always going to eat lima beans so that she would never have the case of stripes again. And so as I was kind of thinking about this book, obviously there's the moral story of it in being yourself, and you won't have problems. And I think that this goes along great with students who are moving into the classroom in the middle of the year, or whenever really, when they feel this pressure to become a person in this new culture, kind of forget and neglect or dismiss their previous culture. Yet we see, like Camilla, that as you do this, you lose your individuality and personal things about you. And so kind of going along with these thoughts and the theorists behind language acquisition, we have our mediationalists who emphasize that an environment in which you learn is very important for your success. So for example, Camilla was really pressured by her classmates, and because of this, she did what they told her to do in kind of an input-output way. As they yelled to her stripes and spots, that's what she became. So that would be like Skinner's behaviorism, and she immediately would react to what they yelled at her. But obviously, in the end, we find out that this is not the way to go, and that each child has their own volition and agency, like the mediationalists argue. And they're able to choose for themselves and create by themselves their own identity and their own language processing. And so Camilla is not simply a reactor in an equation like this, but she's able to choose to eat lima beans. Now, of course, this is a little bit different from language. Well, the story is different from language, but it can connect to that as well, in that she has her agency to choose how she learns and what she likes and dislikes about learning, and so on. It also connects to constructivists and Krashen, I believe that's how you say his name, and the thought of scaffolding, and that it's always I plus 1. And this would be that the thought that the next logical step is what will help solve any problem or help somebody progress in a way. But like we see in this book, as the doctors and specialists, even experts, came to help Camilla, they each added in their spiel of what they thought could solve the problem, whether it be cream or pills or sleep, any of that. That's what they thought would be the next logical step, yet it's not always that way. And so talking about this with EL students, a lot of times we as teachers might enter into a classroom and decide that we know what might be best for them in their natural progression, yet it's not always correct, and it might bring more anxiety or more problems to the situation. And so it's important to not only scaffold our students, but to do so in their appropriate ZPD. Know enough about the student that we're able to promote and suggest appropriate activities within their ZPD. And kind of thinking, let's see what else I have on here. So basically there's not just one cure-all that could happen and help each EL student. But I was even thinking that this book could be appropriate for a classroom that involves both EL students and students who have English as their L1. And this is because it's important for all students of this age to develop socially and to know how to interact with others. And so, kind of like what Vygotsky says with his social cultural theory, all children can learn if given the right tools. And so as they have teachers and students who are there to help them, and this mediation that encourages them to participate within a classroom, they will be able to succeed. And just as Chomsky says, they all have this innate ability to learn a language and to succeed. And he kind of favors more the competency than the performance. Yet, if we encourage them and let them know of their innate ability and the competency that they have, they will be able to perform in that way. And let's see what else. Along with Sapir and Worf, while each individual student brings what they have to offer to the classroom. And it's so much a part of who they are, it's so much embedded in them, that there's no way that we can just strip them of their identity in any way. And that's kind of what was happening with Camilla, as she chose to not eat the lima beans because of this social pressure. And so we as teachers can really strive to get to know each of our students individually and draw on these likes and dislikes of each student, make learning more meaningful for them, and in this way they will be more engaged in their learning, and there's competency that we spoke of Chomsky can actually turn into performance as they can see their own progression within their ZPD and succeed. And so, let's see what else. Kind of reflecting overall, it is beneficial for students in applying it to EL learners in this way because it teaches that individuality is good for each student and that culture should not be discredited, neglected, ignored, nor forgotten. But we can encourage our students who come from other cultures to share with us the things that they like or traditions from their culture, or even teach us specific words or phrases so it can be a very inclusive and safe, comfortable environment for all students who are learning. It is also beneficial for students because they can all learn to begin to accept themselves for who they are and also respect and treat others in correct ways that are appropriate for their differences. Because learning is so heavily dependent on social interactions and involvement, this respect between peers is essential and will help them be able to interact and participate with those from a new culture. I remember back when Rich and Dick were in my class, we were it was very strange. I grew up here in Utah, so we didn't have a ton of that mixed culture in the classroom before, but I was really impressed to see how my teacher had them participate and be involved with us as well. And so I remember learning just select phrases in Spanish, and we even sent a video to their mom back in Mexico, and we all said, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" and things like that. That really made them feel a part of the classroom, and we didn't see them as being sick or like contagious to us because of their differences, but it was really fun and inclusive that way. So there's no reason for EL students to feel like something is wrong with them, like Camilla felt because she liked lima beans. But these salient features from their culture can actually be beneficial to a classroom and can be a great advantage as well, as it's a very great way to holistically see a child and grow together as a class. Some limitations that this might include would be that there will always be outside circumstances beyond the classroom that will have an effect on the students. So you can't have this perfection and eliminate all differences or hard circumstances that may be happening at home. But the best thing that a teacher could do would to be, like I said, to get to know each student, let them see that they can be themselves. They can eat lima beans, for example. They can feel comfortable within a classroom and succeed as well. And this will later lead to successful performance. And so overall, it's a great book, and though it doesn't specifically address other cultures or another language with its writing, it still has a lot of great moral, cultural messages that can benefit all types of students. And it follows these same theories that many of these theorists that we've been studying until 410 have discussed and argued over time. And I think that is it.